The key felt heavy in Arthur's hand. He stood in the center of his living room, a room that was no longer his living room. The walls were bare. The floors were scuffed. The windows were dark. Everything that had made this house a home was gone. The furniture, the photographs, the shelves of books he had read twice, the rug his wife had picked out 30 years ago, the one she had loved because it was ugly but comfortable. All of it, gone, not stolen. Taken by him, by his own hands, with the help of 3 movers and a white truck that now sat idling in the driveway. Arthur looked at the key one more time. Then he slipped it into an envelope and wrote 2 words on the front for Elena. His daughter, his only child. The girl he had carried on his shoulders through this house when it was nothing but a frame and a dream. The girl he had taught to hammer a nail, to plant a garden, to stand up for herself. The girl who had looked him in the eye 2 nights ago and called him a useless old man. You can't even flush a toilet properly, Dad. The whole house stinks because of you. He closed the front door. He did not lock it. That was no longer his job. He walked to the white truck and climbed into the passenger seat. Arthur looked back at the house. The house he had built. The house where his wife had died. The house where his daughter had grown from a baby into a woman he no longer recognized. "Ready," he said. The truck pulled away. Behind him, the house stood empty and dark. In 12 hours, Elena and Julian would come home to nothing. 2 years ago, Elena and Julian had arrived with suitcases and smiles. Julian had stood behind her, nodding, his eyes already scanning the living room, measuring it, claiming it. Arthur had welcomed them. Of course he had. They were family, his daughter, his son-in-law. They were struggling, and he had space. A big house, 4 bedrooms, a garden, a workshop where he had planned to spend his retirement building birdhouses and rocking chairs. He gave them the master bedroom, the largest room in the house, the one with the bay window and the walk-in closet and the private bathroom that his wife had always wanted. "This is temporary," Elena had promised. 6 months, maybe a year. Arthur believed her. He was wrong. The first 6 months were fine. Good, even. The house felt alive again. There was noise in the mornings, the clatter of dishes, the sound of the shower, the murmur of conversations Arthur could not quite hear. He made coffee for everyone. He cooked dinner on Sundays. He felt useful. Then things began to change slowly. A dish left in the sink, a towel on the bathroom floor, a light left on all night. Small things. Small signs of a creeping entitlement that Arthur did not want to see. Julian stopped saying thank you for the coffee. Elena stopped helping with the groceries. They started treating the house like a hotel. And Arthur, the man who had built this house with his own hands, who had laid every brick and hammered every nail, became the staff. Arthur woke at 5 every morning. He had done this for 40 years. Old habits. He liked the quiet, the dark, the way the house creaked and settled before the sun came up. He made coffee, a full pot. He poured 2 mugs and set them on the counter. One for Elena, one for Julian. He added cream to Elena's, the way she liked it, and left Julian's black. Then he went back to his room and waited for them to wake up. They never thanked him. Not once, not in 2 years. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was the way they looked at him. The way Elena's eyes would slide past him like he was furniture. The way Julian would grunt instead of speaking. The way they had stopped seeing him as a person and started seeing him as a convenience. One morning, Arthur set the mugs on the counter as usual. He had been feeling tired lately. His knees ached. His back hurt. He had not slept well. He forgot the cream. Elena noticed immediately. "Dad, where is the cream?" "In the fridge. You know I can't drink it without cream." "Then get it yourself." The words came out sharper than he intended. He saw Elena's face change, Her eyes narrowed, her lips pressed together. "Excuse me?" Arthur took a breath. "I am tired, Elena. I didn't sleep well. The cream is in the fridge." Julian walked into the kitchen. He looked at the mugs. He looked at Arthur. He did not say thank you. He did not say good morning. He picked up his mug and walked away. Elena stood in the kitchen, her arms crossed, her face hard. "Maybe you should see a doctor, Dad. You are getting forgetful." "I am not forgetful. I am tired." She walked out of the kitchen like he was not there. Arthur stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the appliances he had installed, the cabinets he had built, the floor he had tiled with his own hands. He felt like a stranger in his own home. The toilet handle had been loose for weeks. Arthur had noticed it. He had planned to fix it. He fixed everything in this house, always had. But he had been busy. The garden needed tending. The roof had a leak. Julian had asked him to organize the garage, and Arthur had spent 3 days moving boxes and sweeping floors. The handle slipped his mind. At 3 in the morning, Arthur woke to use the bathroom. He flushed. The handle stuck. He jiggled it. The water ran for a few extra seconds. He went back to bed. He did not think about it again. But Elena did. She stormed into his room at 7 the next morning, her face red, her eyes blazing. Julian stood behind her, bleary-eyed and silent. "Dad, the bathroom. It stinks." Arthur sat up in bed. "What?" "The guest bathroom, the one we use. It smells like sewage. You didn't flush properly last night." Arthur blinked. "I flushed. The handle is loose. I'll fix it today." "You always say that. You never fix anything." "I fix everything in this house. I built this house." "You built it 40 years ago. It is falling apart. Just like you." The words hit Arthur like a physical blow. He stared at his daughter, his little girl, the one he had carried through the snow to the hospital when she had pneumonia, the one he had stayed up with all night when she was scared of thunder, the one he had worked 3 jobs to send to college. "You are an old man, Dad," Elena continued, her voice rising. "A useless old man. You can't even use a toilet properly. The whole house stinks because of you." Arthur looked at Julian. Julian looked away. "Maybe it is time," Elena said, "to think about a home, a place where people can take care of you." The words hung in the air like smoke. Arthur did not respond. He got out of bed. He walked past his daughter and his son-in-law. He went to the bathroom, the one he had built, the one with the loose handle, and closed the door. He stood in front of the mirror and looked at his reflection. An old man, a useless old man, but not a stupid one. He picked up his phone and made a call. Arthur had not become a homeowner by accident. He had spent 40 years learning the value of things: bricks, mortar, lumber, concrete. He knew what something was worth. He knew when to hold and when to fold. And he knew when to walk away. The call was to a moving company. A big one. The kind that could empty a house in a single day. He gave it. "Where are we taking everything?" Arthur thought about this. He thought about the house, the furniture, the photographs, the shelves of books, the ugly rug his wife had loved. "Storage," he said. "I'll text you the location." He hung up. Then he called the utility company, the internet provider, the credit card company. "Close the account," he said, one after another. "Effective tomorrow." No one asked why. No one ever asked why. Finally, he called a locksmith. "I need the locks changed," he said. "All of them, tomorrow afternoon. And the keys, leave one, in an envelope, on the kitchen counter." He hung up. He looked at the bathroom mirror one more time. Then he reached into the drawer and pulled out a permanent marker. He bent down and wrote on the inside of the toilet tank lid, small letters, careful. The handwriting of a man who had spent a lifetime building things that lasted. Now, it is really clean. Elena and Julian left for work at 7. 30 the next morning. They did not say goodbye to Arthur. They did not look at him. They walked past him like he was a piece of furniture. An old chair in the corner, a dusty lamp, a faded photograph. Arthur waited until their car disappeared around the corner. Then he went to work. The movers arrived at 8, 3 men. A white truck. They did not ask questions. Arthur paid them well. Start with the master bedroom, he said. Everything. The bed, the dresser, the nightstands. The lamp Elena had bought because she said Arthur's taste was depressing. The clothes in the closet. Not Elena's clothes. Not Julian's clothes. The clothes that belonged in that room. The sheets. The pillows. The curtains. Out. The living room was next. The couch. The chairs. The coffee table Arthur had built himself 30 years ago. From a single slab of oak. The television. The bookshelves. The books out. The dining room. The table where they had eaten Thanksgiving dinner. The chairs where Arthur's wife had sat, where Elena had sat as a child, where the family had gathered for birthdays and holidays and ordinary Tuesday nights. Out the kitchen. The pots. The pans. The dishes. The silverware. The coffee maker that Arthur had used every morning to make coffee for people who never said thank you. Out by noon the house was empty. The walls were bare. The floors were scuffed. The windows were dark. Arthur walked through the rooms one last time. He remembered the day he had bought this land, the day he had laid the foundation, the day he had framed the walls, the day he had moved in with his wife, carrying her over the threshold because she said it was good luck. He stopped in the guest bathroom, the one with the loose handle. He lifted the lid of the toilet tank and looked at the words he had written. Now it is really clean. He closed the lid. He walked to the front door. He left the key on the kitchen counter, in an envelope with Elena's name on it. Then he walked out. Elena and Julian came home at 6:30. The house was dark. Elena frowned. Did the power go out? Julian tried the light switch. Nothing. Maybe a blown fuse, he said. They walked inside. Their footsteps echoed. The house sounded different. Hollow. Empty. Wrong. Dad? Elena called. No answer. She walked into the living room. The living room was empty. No couch. No chairs. No coffee table. No television. Just bare walls and dusty floors and the fading light of the evening sun. Julian? Julian walked into the kitchen. The kitchen was empty. No pots, no pans, no dishes, no coffee maker. Just empty cabinets and an empty refrigerator and a single envelope on the counter. Elena's name. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a single key and a note. Elena, you wanted a home. Now you have one, an empty one. Just like the one you gave me. I built this house with my own hands. I filled it with love. I raised you here. I gave you everything. And you called me useless. The utilities are off. The credit cards are canceled. The internet is disconnected. The locks have been changed. You have the only key. This is not your house. It never was. It was mine. And now that Elena read the note 3 times. Then she dropped it on the counter and ran to the master bedroom. Empty. The bathroom. The closet. The drawers. Empty. 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 She stood in the middle of the room Arthur had given her, the best room in the house, the room with the bay window and the walk, in closet and the private bathroom, and screamed. Julian stood in the doorway, his face pale. What do we do now? He asked. Elena did not answer. She did not know. The law office was cold. Gray walls, gray carpets, gray faces. Elena sat across from Marcus, Arthur's attorney. Julian sat beside her, his leg bouncing, his hands clenched. Where is he? Elena demanded. Marcus folded his hands on the desk. Mr. Vance is unavailable. We need to talk to him. This is a misunderstanding. We're family. Marcus opened a file folder. Mr. Vance asked me to give you this. He slid a piece of paper across the desk. a formal notice eviction. 30 days. Elena stared at the paper. He can't do this. This is my home. Actually, Marcus said, the house belongs to Mr. Vance. He bought the land. He built the structure. He paid the property taxes for 40 years. You have no legal claim. But we lived there. We helped him. We helped him. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Mr. Vance's records show otherwise. He paid for your groceries. He paid for your utilities. He paid for your internet. He made you coffee every morning for 2 years. What did you do for him? Closed it. Call him useless? Marcus continued. Tell him he stinks? Treat him like a servant in his own home. Julian stood up. This is insane. We're not leaving. Marcus smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then you'll be removed by the sheriff in 30 days. I suggest you use that time to find an apartment. Elena started to cry. We didn't think he would actually do it. Marcus looked at her. His face softened just a little. Then you didn't know your father at all. Arthur sat by the window of his hotel room, looking out at the city. The room was small, clean, simple, a bed, a chair, a view of the river. It was not his house. It was not his home, but it was his. His phone buzzed, a message from Marcus. They've moved out. The house is empty. The locks are changed. What do you want to do with it? Arthur looked at the message for a long time. He thought about selling it. He thought about renting it. He thought about tearing it down and starting over. But he knew, deep down, that he would never live there again. Too many memories. Too much pain. Too many mornings of making coffee for people who did not care. Put it on the market, he typed back. Donate the proceeds to the homeless shelter, the one on Main Street. Marcus replied, Are you sure? Arthur looked out the window. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and gold. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He put down his phone and picked up his coffee black, no cream, the way he liked it. Elena and Julian found an apartment on the other side of the city. It was small. 1 bedroom, thin walls, noisy neighbors, the kind of place where the heat did not work in winter and the air conditioning did not work in summer. Julian left 6 months later. He did not say goodbye. He just packed his bags and walked out. Elena did not cry. She had no tears left. She thought about calling her father. She picked up the phone a dozen times. She typed his number. She stared at the screen. She never pressed call. She did not know what to say. I am sorry felt too small. I was wrong felt too late. I love you felt like a lie. So she said nothing. And Arthur, sitting in his small hotel room drinking his black coffee, watching the sun set over the river, waited for a call that never came. He did not wait forever. He had learned something valuable, something he wished he had learned sooner. Love is not something you can buy with a house or a bedroom or 2 years of free coffee. Love is a choice, a daily choice, a choice to see the person in front of you, to value them, to treat them like they matter. Elena had stopped making that choice, and Arthur had finally stopped making it for her. If you have ever been taken for granted, love does not mean letting someone destroy your dignity. Love does not mean accepting cruelty in exchange for comfort. Love does not mean making coffee for people who will never say thank you. Sometimes, love means walking away. Sometimes, love means leaving a key on the counter and an empty house behind. Sometimes, love means choosing yourself because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And you cannot build a home with people who have forgotten how to care. If you've ever been treated like an option instead of a priority, leave the word clear in the comments. The first lesson we all need to learn is this: loving someone does not mean letting them destroy your dignity.